What if we've been living in the wrong year all along? The phantom time hypothesis claims that 300 years of history, between 614 and 911 AD, were completely fabricated. This idea, introduced by German historian Heribert Illig in 1991, challenges everything we know about the medieval period, suggesting we might actually be living in the 1700s instead of the 21st century. Heribert Illig wasn't just another historian. In 1991, he introduced one of the most radical historical theories ever, that almost 3 centuries of medieval history were entirely made up. According to Illig, everything we know about this period, from wars to empires, could be nothing more than fiction. Illig's bold claim is that the years 614 to 911 AD never happened. This period is a gap in our timeline, filled with fabricated rulers and events. He argued that there was a massive conspiracy to make the medieval era seem longer than it actually was. But why would someone rewrite centuries of history? At the center of Illig's hypothesis is Otto III, a Holy Roman Emperor who allegedly altered the calendar to position his reign at the symbolic year 1000. Illig believed Otto's ambition to rule at this historical moment led him to manipulate history, deleting years to suit his narrative. But Otto III wasn't acting alone. Illig's theory implicates Pope Sylvester II in this grand deception. Together, they supposedly altered historical records and manipulated the timeline to ensure that Otto III would be seen as the ruler during the start of the new millennium. Illig also pointed the finger at Byzantine Emperor Constantine VII, suggesting that he contributed to this historical cover-up. Constantine's reign, according to Illig, was a key piece in maintaining the fabricated medieval timeline. This trio of rulers conspired to create a false history. The Dark Ages, a time often characterized by a lack of historical records, is where Illig found the most evidence to support his theory. The near absence of detailed documentation, Illig argued, was because this period simply didn't exist. Could the missing centuries of history be hiding in plain sight? One of the key arguments for Illig's theory is the Gregorian calendar reform in 1582. When Pope Gregory XIII corrected the slow drift of the Julian calendar, he didn't account for a full 300 years. Illig saw this as further evidence that these years were never real and the timeline had been altered. But nature itself offers a challenge to the phantom time hypothesis. Recorded solar eclipses from the ancient past align perfectly with the accepted timeline of history. If 300 years had been fabricated, these celestial events wouldn't match. The stars themselves seem to debunk the theory. Archaeological evidence from the Dark Ages further weakens Illig's theory. Castles, coins, and artifacts from this period have been uncovered across Europe. If these centuries were fabricated, how does one explain the physical remnants of this era? The ground itself appears to disprove the idea of missing centuries. One of the most shocking claims of the phantom time hypothesis is that Charlemagne, the legendary king of the Franks, never existed. Illig believed that Charlemagne was a fictional character invented to fill the gaps in the timeline. Yet the legacy of Charlemagne, with his monuments and legends, suggests otherwise. Illig pointed to a rapid development in architecture as evidence of the missing centuries. The transition from Roman to Romanesque architecture, he argued, happened too quickly without a gradual evolution, suggesting that time was skipped. But is this leap really so unusual in architectural history? Illig argued that Byzantine rulers' reigns were artificially extended or fabricated altogether to fit the adjusted timeline. Byzantine records, in his view, helped maintain the illusion of an uninterrupted historical flow, further perpetuating the false narrative. The phantom time hypothesis faces significant opposition from outside Europe. Islamic and Chinese historical records from the same period align perfectly with Europe's timeline. If 300 years were missing, these independent records would also be out of sync. This evidence from other civilizations casts serious doubt on the hypothesis. Carbon dating and dendrochronology provide hard scientific data that contradicts Illig's theory. These methods, which date artifacts and tree rings with remarkable accuracy, show no gap in time during the missing centuries. The scientific evidence overwhelmingly suggests that those years did, in fact, happen. Historians and scientists have heavily criticized Illig's theory, pointing out the speculative nature of his claims. From astronomical events to physical evidence, the overwhelming majority of experts reject the phantom time hypothesis as little more than a fringe theory with no basis in reality. Despite its many flaws, the phantom time hypothesis has captivated conspiracy theorists. Its appeal lies in the idea that history itself could be manipulated on such a grand scale, making people question the very fabric of time. For some, the allure of a hidden truth outweighs the facts. Illig's theory plays into a deeper human fascination with the concept of lost time. From ancient myths to modern sci-fi, the idea that time itself could be altered resonates with many. Could history have been rewritten? It's a compelling thought, even if it's just fiction. Historians work tirelessly to piece together our understanding of the past, relying on both written records and physical evidence. The phantom time hypothesis questions their role in preserving the truth of history, but experts are confident in their methods and the established timeline. The phantom time hypothesis has been largely debunked, yet it remains a popular conspiracy theory. Its mix of mystery, history, and science fiction continues to captivate imaginations. In the end, it reminds us how fragile our understanding of time can be, and how easily some can be convinced that reality isn't what it seems.